When I was taking my DSE English back then, one of the most challenging parts of reading was to interpret the figurative language in the text. Figurative language means that you cannot understand it by its basic meaning, but you need to use your inferencing or reasoning skills to deduce the meaning behind a word or phrase. I found it helpful to reread a few sentences before the target sentence and a few sentences after the target sentence to understand the contextual meaning of the keyword or phrase. You could also pay attention to the writer's tone and attitudes to deduce the contextual meaning of the word or phrase. The second tip of the DSE reading paper for you is to pay attention to the grammar prompts in the sentence completion questions. Beware of the grammar prompts that are provided at the beginning of the sentence, such as the subordinate conjunctions because, since, and as. Take the conjunction since as an example. If the question asks you about the reason for an event or an action, and the sentence completion sentence begins with since, you should include the reason for an event or action in the first clause, and include the result of the reason in the second clause. Therefore, when the question asks about the reason and it has provided the grammar prompt, since the cost of living in cities is, you can write, since the cost of living in cities is becoming very expensive, more and more people are moving to the suburbs. The first clause, since the cost of living in cities is becoming very expensive, has mentioned the reason. And the second clause, more and more people are moving to the suburbs, has mentioned the result of the reason.
Perhaps one of the most challenging type of questions in Paper 1 reading was the question asking you to explain a conflict shown in the passage. First, what exactly is a conflict? Conflict means disagreement. Disagreement composes of two opposing ideas. Therefore, the skill to answer this type of question is to remember that there are two parts you need to address, even though the question carries 1 mark only. To answer this type of question, we use this pattern. Something is good, but bad. Or something is bad, but good. Moving on to the question in 2020's paper. What conflicting ideas did Norton have to consider when responding to the problem in paragraph 8? So, the problem is here. I'm going to marry a young Italian farmer half my age. And what did Norton think? Her friends all think she's crazy and Norton thinks they are right, but not definitely. Hers could be the young Italian farmer scenario that ends happily ever after. Here comes the answer. Norton thinks it's crazy to marry a young Italian farmer, the negative side. But they may live happily ever after, the positive side. So is this type of question that hard? Not really. Many candidates might have just written 1 point because it carried 1 mark. Remember, if you see this type of question, 2 opposing ideas are expected in the answer, 1 positive and 1 negative. Connect the 2 ideas with the word but, and that's it.
When you're preparing DSE, you may find that Paper 1 reading is very difficult. Here are some tips for you when you encounter some reference type questions. This is an example for reference type questions. What does their baby refer to in this sentence? Maggie and Calvin are married. They don't have kid, but they own a fluffy kitten. They spoil the kitten so much, just like spoiling a kid. Look at the garden, that's their baby. Don't forget to use your highlighter to help you notice the phrase, their baby, both in the questions and the reading passage. We need to identify the pronoun their as the possessive adjective, which shows who owned the noun. In this case, we need to find out who owned the baby in the sentence. Answers usually appear in the same line, 1 or 2 lines before or after the selected sentence. However, we cannot find the word baby in the passage this time, except that selected sentence. Therefore, we should search for the synonym of baby in the passage, which is the word kid. By tracking the sentences before the selected phrase, we learn that Maggie and Calvin don't have kid, but they spoiled a kitten just like spoiling a kid. We can therefore infer that the word baby implies the word kitten. Next time you can try these skills in doing the reference type questions. Good luck and don't worry too much for your DSE exam. Do the best and remember, your teachers and peers are always there to help you.